Well, I've finally arrived at the pointy end of my renovations and I'm left with a whole lot of little projects hanging over, one of which is what to do with this deck. Now, the temptation when you're renovating is often just to rip a deck up and replace it, but this deck's around about 40 square meters in size, so even if I use the cheapest treated pine, you're still going to be looking at around about $2,000 in materials and at least $1,000 to $1,500 in labour. I reckon I have a much more budget-friendly approach. That's just a simple rejuvenation and renovation, and I can bring this deck back to life. Let's have a look at how you can evaluate whether a deck's up to that sort of treatment and then what you need to do to make it happen. You need to have a good look for any rot or decay in any of the boards, particularly around things like nail holes and spots right out in the weather. This deck's certainly well weathered, but there's no evidence of any rot or decay. Have a look over the whole deck, particularly any high traffic areas, and look for any popped nail or screw heads.
And look for any split or damaged boards that may need repairing or replacing.
For a 20-year-old Aussie hardwood deck, it's actually in pretty good condition. There's some popped nails on the way to the front door, but that's pretty typical from all the foot traffic over the years. I reckon I'm going to be able to fix all of this without any great problems whatsoever, but the first thing I've got to do is get everything off the deck.
For a basic refresh, all you need is a long-handled deck scrubbing brush, a long-handled applicator for the oil, a small paintbrush comes in handy too for tight spots, decking oil in a paint tray, and then a suitable timber cleaning product, a bucket big enough to take your scrubbing brush, and any recommended PPE. Add your cleaning product and water to the bucket and make sure it's well mixed. Wet your deck down and then get scrubbing. For larger decks, do a section at a time and avoid doing a hot deck or in full sun. Most of these products need to sit on the timber for a while after application, but don't let them dry out. Hose it off thoroughly and then start on the next section. In my case, it turned out there was still heaps of ingrained dirt, so I gave the deck a pressure clean too. If you do pressure clean decking, always test a small area first to get your pressure and distance from the surface right. Go very easy on treated pine as it will go fluffy with too much blasting, and don't pressure clean any damaged, decaying or badly weathered boards. After pressure cleaning, make sure you give it another hose down to remove all of that dirt and grime you dislodged. While you're waiting for the deck to dry, get started on any re-nailing or re-screwing. Excessively loose screws or nails can be a sign of rot in the joists. If you encounter any, get underneath and investigate.
You're probably wondering if you need to hammer in every single nail. Well, you can if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just going to concentrate on the ones that have conspicuously popped that you can feel in bare feet when you're walking across them, and paying particular attention to the high traffic areas.
Spots of paint or stains are best removed with painter's steel wool as it conforms to the timber contours. Don't just rub hard in one spot, feather the sanding out in long strokes and go with the grain, not in circles. Chances are you've all sorts of stuff stuck between the boards. Use a putty knife or something similar to remove these bits, otherwise they're going to be glued in place forever by your oil. Once your deck is dry, it's time to get oiling. Don't oil a hot deck or one in full sun, and start from one end or corner and work your way across, making sure you can exit without walking on the freshly oiled areas. As my timber was quite old, the first coat really sucked up a lot of oil. Let it dry before applying at least one more coat.
And there you have it, a fantastic result, even if I do say so myself. And it's at a fraction of the cost than it would have been to have replaced the entire deck. From the point of view of difficulty, it's a 2 out of 10. It's an easy project. But like with all DIY projects, the quality of the outcome is all about doing the preparation work well.